My lords, today I bring report from the alternate reality, the same one from where we learn of the blockouts and Eternum. But today we shall hear about a new threat, a threat that refers to itself as the Compound. The Compound is a collective dark matter-based lifeform brought into life by a mysterious entity known as the Creators. The Compound exists as a single absolute consciousness, and it spreads itself across countless bodies. Even the Compound ships are, according to them, merely extensions of their own form. The majority of life in the universe is made from what the Compound call flawed baryonic matter. The Compound sees itself as the only being suited for internal existence and is, due to its makeup, immune to most forms of harm and very capable of adapting where required. The Compound believes that their purpose is to perfect the cosmos by transforming the galaxy itself. To them, resistance is pointless, as any opposition will only delay the inevitable march towards their vision of universal perfection. I shall report on their invasion of our galaxy in detail, but first, we also need to learn about a brand new megastructure, a gigastructure if you will. This is called the Event Horizon Offset Facility, or EHOF for short. The EHOF, as you will find out, is a megastructure capable of creating and forming wormholes, using itself as an origin point and creating a tunnel, or a wormhole, between that and any other point in the galaxy. Dr. Alessandro reports on the discovery and construction of this marvelous device, and it all began with the discovery of mysterious geoglyphs. We have discovered giant geoglyphs carved into the surface of Hadronok 2. Repeating elements and the symbol's overall abstraction indicate that they are more likely a script than a representation of a lifeform. My crew and I have landed and set up camp around the largest of the geoglyphs. They are located south of a mountain range wrapped around the planet's northern pole. We immediately turned our thoughts to figuring out what these glyphs are, and of course who put them there. After some deliberation, we got to work testing air and ground samples and running surface scans of the geoglyphs themselves. These investigations lasted for several months, but sadly, no meaningful progress was made. The science team was at a loss. My team and I have declared the mission a total failure, and we packed up our camp and made ready to board our ship and return to our general orders. I gave the order to depart the planet, and we began to ascend into orbit. But during our ascent, one of my team noticed that the very glyph that we had been landed on for months was glowing a faint orange, while the others were not. Thus, I halted the ascent and returned to the ground. As we descended, the glyph's orange glow began to intensify more and more as we drew closer. Puzzled by this development, we decided to do a lap of the planet, flying over every glyph at low altitude, watching each one light up as we passed over. Eventually, all of the glyphs remained lit, but we were still none the wiser as to what this meant. Nevertheless, we decided to land once again and re-examine the glyphs directly. This, however, did not last long. Shortly after returning to the surface of Hadronok 2, our sensors detected a major seismic activity, and for a moment, all of the glyphs stopped glowing at once. Concerned for the well-being of my crew, we quickly reboarded the ship and once more ascended into orbit. As soon as we left the atmosphere of the planet, our sensors detected a tremendous increase in tectonic activity. The planet's surface began to burst open, and a giant bolt of orange light was launched from the inside at a speed far beyond anything we have been able to achieve. The light soon left visible range, but my crew and I were able to determine its intended destination and heading. We have plotted a course to follow and hope to investigate wherever it arrives. It took us weeks to get to the orange bolt's destination, but having translated in system, it is nowhere to be seen. Furthermore, despite the time we've spent on this, we have no real insight into what the geoglyphs were for, who made them, or why they were made, and we have no idea what this orange bolt is, or what it represents. However, this star system does have something quite noteworthy. There is strange debris strewn all around the system, and it appears that there was once some kind of megastructure here, although now ruined. We suspect it was probably destroyed over time by the black hole. Inside this ruined megastructure, however, we discovered a large and functional data cache containing advanced technologies and knowledge related to wormhole stabilization. The most significant find, however, was an extremely alien and otherworldly artifact. We suspect that studying this artifact is going to yield fantastic results, and so that's exactly what we set about doing. The long-term study of this artifact was quite informative, though most of it was spent confronting the artifact's bizarre properties. While it retains its shape, its scale and mass independently oscillate to wild extremes. Our researchers have recorded sizes as small as a datapad, but as large as a modern cruiser, and its mass cycles between a standard unit of alloy and approximately an eighth of the Earth's total mass. This artifact can certainly be called erratic. These factors have led my team and I to believe that it is actually a higher dimensional object that's partially anchored into our own reality, and its rotation through these dimensions is responsible for the strange effects that we observe in our own spacetime. As we continue to study the artifact, we believe that we have determined at least one of its functions. It is capable of stabilizing and manipulating wormholes. This artifact possesses the potential to manipulate any of the wormholes in our own universe, even the subatomic, short-lived virtual micro-wormholes that can arise from quantum fluctuations of spacetime itself. The artifact might possess further functions, but due to its enigmatic nature, we suspect they'll be hard to determine. We aren't even sure if its erratic behavior is intentional at this point, or if it is somehow damaged, but we suspect it was likely utilized in this ruined megastructure, which we have come to learn is called an Event Horizon Offset Facility. We believe that this megastructure was used to drive the wormhole manipulation, and we hope that we may be able to repair the megastructure using this device to power it. Perhaps we could open up wormholes of our own. Years have passed now, but I'm very pleased to report that EHOF Alpha has been completed. The megastructure is by far one of our society's greatest achievements, and with it we can now bend the very fabric of space and hope to create micro wormholes to anywhere in the galaxy. During preliminary testing of the EHOF, we discovered that there are stars outside of the galactic hyperlane network, but we believe that we can target them. Sadly, at this point, anything we send there has no means of return. Thus, we think it's a good idea to send both science teams to explore and potentially excavate the system, but also construction crews, with the hope to build gateways to allow us to return back home one day. Given the nature of the mission, it will be volunteers only. My lords, the exploration of this new cluster of stars will be reported on separately. But soon after building the Event Horizon Offset Facility, we became quite distracted with the entity called the Compound. We believe at this point that they are linked, but we are not quite sure how. A short time ago, one of our astronomers discovered a cluster of extragalactic black holes within our local group. As such an occurrence is extremely unusual, the astronomer in question, with assistance, began to triangulate the cluster's exact coordinates in order to better track these systems. Days after the initial sighting, the astronomers spied what they believed to be structures within these star systems, including a megastructure encompassing one of the black holes, and thus that we believed it contains, or once contained, life. Today, we learnt firsthand about this life in question. Much like our own Event Horizon Offset Facility, it appears that the megastructure in this system is capable of creating wormholes to distant stars. The life forms within this cluster have opened a micro wormhole into the Hydra system, which sits in our galaxy, and within moments, they've flooded through and destroyed everything in the system. It would appear that these aliens have not come in peace. Of course, we attempted to contact the creatures. They had the following to say. We are the Compound, the ultimate life form. We are one, made from many. We share one mind and countless bodies. All our forms are connected to a single absolute consciousness. Even what you refer to as ships is, in actuality, just one of our many forms. All life in this cosmos is made from flawed baryonic matter, unsuited for perpetual existence in this reality. All life, except us, that is. We were brought into existence by the creators. We are dark matter, and we will be the apex of life in this universe. The transmutation of this galaxy will be the first of many. Do not try to stop us. It is not possible to damage our forms. We have always, due to our nature, been immunized against most forms of potentially harmful energy. For everything else, we have adapted, and this is why we are supreme. This is why we are the only ones who can make this universe perfect. Do not be afraid. We know that this change appears frightening to you, but it will solely contribute to the perfection of the universe. Even if you will not relent, the outcome will not change. You only delay the inevitable. Embrace perfection. With that, the transmission was cut off, and weeks later we witnessed a supernova from the Hydra system star. Despite this, our council decided that the compound were not an immediate threat. They had, thankfully, entered our galaxy on the other side to our own, and we suspected it would take them quite some time to get to us. Thus, we decided to watch and wait, and this was later revealed to be a very good decision, as several empires sent armadas against the compound fleets. Whatever the compound were constructed of appeared to be totally impervious to regular weapons. Every ship in every fleet sent against the compound was utterly destroyed. Months passed, and we watched as the compound slowly but effectively began to eat through our galaxy star systems. Star after star was blown apart and absorbed. Despite all attempts, we could not understand their ship designs, nor how they were invulnerable to our own weapons. Then, out of the blue, a high-energy subspace echo was cast across the whole galaxy. It consisted of one short, fragmented message, which read, "The solution, outsiders. Seek system through the event horizon." The message was cryptic, but we quickly ascertained that we believed the message was pointing us towards an as of yet undiscovered star system that we could perhaps find with the Event Horizon offset facility. Not long after we received that message, we received a further communication from the compound themselves. They broadcast the following on a galactic-wide frequency. Foolish. Whatever entity broadcast this message is ignorant. This supposed solution does not exist. Do not waste the universe's energy by trying to find it. Embrace our gift. Embrace perfection. Nevertheless, we fired up the EHOF, and as before, sent through volunteer science crews, in the hope that we would find something to fight the compound. We found ourselves in a lone star system, not far from the cluster of stars that the compound called home, but this star system was alone, with no hyperlanes connected to it. Not long after our science teams began to scout the new system, their vessel was hit by an energy pulse. The ship's main power was cut off, and the vessel lay dormant for 6 hours. Thankfully, the backup power core was undamaged, and the ship's crew were able to activate it and maintain life support until main systems were brought back online. Just as the ship regained full functionality, bizarre events began to take place aboard. Reports described all systems independently reactivating and operating uncontrollably, almost as if the ship was possessed. Monitors began to display erratic but ordered patterns. Automatic doors would open and close in sync with the monitor displays, and the eternal comm systems were blaring repeated sounds. This enigmatic pattern, as the scientists on board termed it, had not manifested since, but nevertheless, we are investigating further. Continued investigation revealed that the star in this system possesses a gigantic anomaly on its surface. A roughly circular indentation reaching down into the star's protosphere, with the surface diameter of approximately 3.3 million kilometers. This indentation is theorized to be a crater left by some incredibly energetic impactor, but what specifically caused it is unknown. Our science teams have two competing hypotheses. Either this thing was incredibly massive, or moving incredibly fast. The impact itself launched gigantic amounts of stellar plasma across the star system, breaking and heating up every planet in system like a small supernova. Despite the violent forces at work from the star, the impactor may still be recognizable, and further, we believe it might have something to do with the message that we received. An investigation of the outer and inner layers of the star will be necessary in order to find traces of this impactor. While all this has been going on, we've also been studying this pattern that has been going on aboard the ship, and we discovered that it is a high-energy information transmission sent from an indeterminate source, but it is directed at our ships. Furthermore, it's evidently capable of interfering with our electronic systems, as it causes this strange behaviour and power loss that we've observed. In order to learn more about it, we've outfitted our science ships with 2 new pieces of technology: scanners tuned to the frequency found in the pattern and closed modular systems. The pattern scanners are equipped with experimental information processing units specifically designed to withstand power surges, and the closed modular systems are manually activated and independently powered, designed to quickly reactivate disabled parts of the ship. With these upgrades, I believe that our ships can now safely receive and analyze the transmissions from this pattern. I'm pleased to report that we've also now finished our investigation of the outer layers of the system's star, and the results are astonishing. It wasn't a large planet or a projectile that collided with this star. The impactor is a gigantic artificial construct that collided with the star millennia ago. It is intact as far as we can tell, and it may well be the source of the message itself. The size of the construct is unimaginable for a ship. It is almost 2,300 kilometers on its longest span and possesses a planet-like mass of 980 quadrillion metric tons. A model of the impact shows that the vessel must have been travelling at a blistering 5,000 kilometers per second when it hit the star. In response to these incredible findings, the science teams are now requesting a hands-on exploration of the vessel. Doing so will of course be an enormous effort, as the ship is located about 8 million kilometers under the star's protosphere, deep within its connective zone. Since the ship is still intact after impact, and with the subsequent exposure to the forces within the heart of a star, we do believe that this is the source of the message, and we hope this vessel is still functional beyond this message beacon. This may very well be our source of salvation against the compound. We've made it. We've reached the dormant construct within the system's star and can confirm it is indeed a spaceship. Our science teams and engineers were, with an almost limitless supply of resource, able to construct what they're calling a stellar elevator. The structure is essentially a gigantic cable tunnel hybrid that stretches from safely beyond the star's protosphere down into its connective zone, all the way to the construct. We sent exploration ships down the elevator, and we determined firsthand the ship appeared intact, and at first glance appears far beyond even the fallen Empire's level of technology. None of our scanners are able to penetrate the ship's hull or even determine what the hull is made from. Our current speculation is that the surface material is some sort of super solid matter that possesses both solid and fluid properties in a single state. If the ship's interior is in fact made from an ever-changing quasi-supersolid, it would explain how it survived its impact and its millennia within the star. We are now finding a way to get inside of the ship to learn more. We certainly didn't expect something like this to happen. As soon as we tried to cut through the ship's hull, a large aperture opened around our away team, revealing a corridor leading inwards. The ship's interior appeared to be made up entirely of a pure white surface that constantly ripples and reshapes. After a few minutes of traversing inwards, our away team reached a gigantic hall that was made from the same strange material as the corridor. Initially, the hallway was empty, but that quickly changed. Soon, uncountable entities emerged from the liquid walls and began to swarm towards the center of the room, whereupon they assembled into a gigantic octahedron. This figure, if that's what you could call it, then contacted our away team telepathically and introduced itself as the central consciousness of the vessel, and it appeared quite delighted that we'd made it. This being insists on immediate contact with our leaders, as it alleged that the fate of the galaxy is at stake. The creature had the following to say: "Greetings, I am C12ANV, but you may refer to me as the Stellar Annihilator. If you desire, I have been sent by the creators to destroy their wayward experiment, the compound. As you've likely observed, the compound's motivation is total cosmic transmutation. The compound believes itself to be invincible, but that is only partially true. While its nature makes it immune to almost every force in the universe, it has a single weakness. All forms of dark matter lose cohesion when exposed to negative mass, disintegrating it into its elementary particles. With negative mass enhanced weapons, the compound's forms can be destroyed. This, however, will not be enough. The compound's origin cluster contains multiple black holes, and at its center is the key and greatest threat: a white hole. The creators utilized unique interactions between the white and black holes to create the compound itself. In order to keep the compound from being destroyed by the very thing that made its existence possible, the creators constructed a specialized megastructure around this white hole that they've called the preservation sphere. This megastructure nullifies the white hole's negative mass ejection and captures its immense energy output. When the compound transmutated the creators in their origin cluster, they seized the preservation sphere and used the megastructure's vast energy supply to further their development. Total annihilation of the compound is only possible by destroying this preservation sphere. Doing so will flood their cluster with negative mass, annihilating the compound's central consciousness and preventing it from spinning up new life forms from the dark matter emitted by black holes. This is my purpose. However, my collision with this star caused significant damage to my frontal weaponry and power core, rendering me unable to serve in this capacity. I require major repairs that I cannot fulfill alone. Please transfer me 24,000 minerals and 20,000 energy. This will allow my integrated repair mechanisms to work. Given our available options, and given how far we'd come, we had very little choice but to trust this machine, and thus we transferred the resources to allow it to begin self-repair. It took the machine several months, but it did eventually contact us once more and said the following: "My repairs are complete. I am initiating a Shroud FTL travel back to Unity. I shall defend you for now, but it is imperative that we destroy the preservation sphere." Over the next decade, the Stellar Annihilator taught us about negative mass technologies, both offensive and defensive. We were able to retrofit our fleets with these technologies, which would enable us to finally bring the fight to the compound, who at this point had made serious inroads into our galaxy. We assembled several fleets of cruisers designed for hit-and-run missile attacks, but with their Whirlwind missile launchers upgraded with negative mass-infused warheads. The result was devastating to the compound. We quickly pushed into the Hydra system, their original entry point into our galaxy, and secured the wormhole leading back to their cluster. The compound, it would appear, were quite taken aback by all this. They transmitted the following message: "Impossible. This cannot be. How can your fleets damage our cleansing forms? We will not tolerate this disturbance. You may have discovered some flaw that we have not yet adapted to, but we will adapt quickly. This flaw will soon be gone. This is unacceptable. We want to bring perfection to the universe, but your galaxy we will now bring to ruin. Nothing will remain once we are done with you. Eternal suffering is the only thing waiting for you now." With that somewhat unpleasant exchange over, we made a push for their home system, to the preservation sphere. Upon entering the compound's capital system, we unleashed the full firepower of our naval fleet. The Stellar Annihilator, who had been kept in reserve up until this point, jumped in system and immediately began to fire its capital weapon upon the preservation sphere. Not long after, our sensors redlined as an enormous energy spike thundered through the compound's origin system. The preservation sphere had been destroyed, unleashing the immense energy output of the white hole it once contained. Within a few hours, the whole system was saturated with quasi-negative mass. The compound was no more. They had been utterly annihilated. Unfortunately, the victory came at a cost. The Stellar Annihilator, our greatest ally in this conflict, sacrificed itself to destroy the preservation sphere, and in turn the compound, finally fulfilling its destiny. We will forever honour its sacrifice. However, this would not be the end. Searching the debris of the preservation sphere, our researchers were able to recover what we believe to be the preservation sphere's core. We believe this relic can quite literally double our energy output on a temporary basis. It is a truly remarkable relic, but that is not all. We also found an unknown construct that lay in the remains of the preservation sphere. It was identical to a few of the mysterious structures that we've seen scattered across the galaxy, and importantly, one of the ones that we found within our cohesive systems. This did not bring us any closer to actually understanding what it was, and right now it cannot be accessed, almost as if it's not really connected to anything. But with the destruction of the compound and the preservation sphere, maybe we won't ever be able to realize its true purpose. Or maybe we will. But that, my lords, is for another report. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this one and want to hear about the most devastatingly powerful crisis in gigastructures, the blockouts, then please click the video on screen now.